Namaste and good evening. You're watching News at 4 only on EDM Bulletin brought to you by Srfti. I'm your host Srfti and we have an interesting bulletin for you this evening. With updates coming in from around the world, let's begin the bulletin with headlines of the hour. White House Press Secretary issues a statement to uphold the rights of the trans community once again. Turkey halts the trial of Jamal Khashoggi's murder to transfer the case to Saudi Arabia. Kolkata's GPO opens one-of-a-kind cafe to stay connected with Gen Z. Our first story this evening comes from the White House, where Ms. Psaki, the press secretary of the White House, issued a statement regarding the trans community and their right to proper medical care. Here are the details. Jen Psaki, White House press secretary, issues a statement that anti-trans care laws may violate the Constitution, once again highlighting the White House's support for the LGBTQI+ community. Time and again, Psaki has iterated that trans rights are human rights. To be clear, every major medical association agrees that gender-affirming healthcare for transgender kids is the best practice and potentially life-saving. LGBTQI+ people can't be erased or forced back into any closets, and kids across our nation should be allowed to be who they are without the threat that their parents or their doctor should be imprisoned simply for helping them and loving them, said Ms. Psaki. This comes a year after Mexico opened country's first of its kind trans clinic. The White House announced several initiatives as part of Transgender Day of Visibility as of 31st March 2022. The announcement was made as several Republican states including Arizona, Iowa and Texas have restricted the rights of transgender Americans. President Biden has committed in both words and actions to fight for all Americans and will not hesitate to hold these states accountable. These bills are government overreach at its worst. They are un-American and they must stop, the White House said. In a historic move, the White House issued mental health resources for trans youth after the American Academy of Pediatrics noted that transgender youth are often at higher risk for suicide attempts and self-harm. On the same day, President Biden fulfilled another promise, confirming Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court, making her the first black woman to serve on the US Supreme Court. In India too, the trans community has had to face innumerous accounts of discrimination. We are currently joined by Dr. Trinetra Haldar Gumaraju, one of Karnataka's first trans woman doctor. Thank you, Trinetra, for sparing some time for us. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
I want to firstly congratulate you and acknowledge the unique position that you're in as one of Karnataka's first trans woman doctor. Can you actually tell us why did you choose to become a doctor?
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be talking to you. Now, answering your question, I transitioned in medical school and I came out to people. I realized how healthcare works for the transgender community in India. And what I saw was that there is such a gaping hole. I mean, we really don't get the healthcare that we deserve. Now, be it with the gender-affirming surgery, therapy of any kind, including psychological counseling, dermatological services, and including a lot more specialized sort of healthcare. The bare minimum is out of question. So I ensured that I could help, and the lack of this facility is fixed.
Right. That's a noble thought. If you're comfortable, can you talk to us about the practices and mindset of the health workers towards the trans community from your own experiences?
So when I was 10 years old, I saw a psychiatrist who was not trained to handle this. So my parents had actually taken me to her. She told me that something was wrong with me and I was not spending time with enough masculine energy in my life. I was behaving in a very feminine way, you know. So it was quite disheartening to hear this from a doctor. And in our country, even the best doctors aren't equipped for this. Right. So whatever I experienced, I don't want that to repeat with generations to come.
Right, that's disheartening. But can you tell us what kept you going through these tough times?
Well, I am still a work in progress. It took me quite some time to come to terms, and I needed to do this for myself and my community.
Thank you so much, Trinetra, for your time and for being the voice of reason in a transphobic society. That was Trinetra Haldar, one of Karnataka's first trans woman doctor. The statement from the White House and individuals like Trinetra are paving the way for trans community in other countries. From the White House, it's time now to move to a story coming in from the Middle East. In an attempt to strengthen political ties, Turkey transfers journalist Jamal Khashoggi's murder case to Riyadh. Here are more details. On Wednesday, a Turkish court confirmed the transfer of the case against alleged assassins of US-based journalist Jamal Khashoggi to Saudi Arabia. Khashoggi, a critic of Saudi Arabia's government, walked into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, where he was murdered with his fiancée waiting outside on October 2, 2018. The transfer puts an end to any hope of securing justice and paves the way for a political reset between the Turkish president Recep Tayyip Erdogan and the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the kingdom's de facto ruler whose security aides were on trial in Istanbul and who is widely believed to have ordered the murder. Saudi officials said the journalist was killed in a rogue operation by a team of agents sent to persuade him to return to the kingdom, while Turkish officials said the agents acted on orders from the highest level of Saudi government. The Khashoggi case had been an obstacle to warmer political ties. This follows Erdogan's attempt to reboot relations with regional rivals including the UAE and Egypt. The veteran leader faces an election next year in which Turkey's stagnating economy is likely to feature prominently, and his moves in the Middle East are aimed at boosting trade and investment ties to ease the situation. It's unfortunate that journalists have been victims of political agendas repeatedly. Tweet your opinions using Justice for Jamal. We'd love to hear from you. On the other side of the break is our first panel discussion of many to follow celebrating 50 years of UNEP. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
We are facing an existential crisis.
Unlike anything the world has ever seen.
We need to take action.
Everyone has to stand up.
The warning is not a new one.
Our world faces a triple planetary crisis of climate change, natural loss and pollution.
Welcome back. You're watching News at 4 only on EDM Bulletin, brought to you by Srfti. It's that time of the bulletin where we do a weather check. Samiksha, what's the weather looking like?
Well, Srfti, the weather is likely to be hot and sunny through the country. The weather in the capital city of New Delhi is warm and windy. A maximum temperature of 42 degrees and a minimum of 26 degrees is expected. The weather in Mumbai remains hot and humid, with a maximum temperature of 33 degrees and minimum of 23 degrees. The humidity could reach to 66%. Bangalore is expected to reach a maximum temperature of 34 degrees, will experience cloudy skies. Chennai will soar at 33 degrees and experience a low of 26 degrees. Kolkata is expected to have a temperature of 35 degrees and the overall weather is expected to remain sunny. Air quality index in Kolkata stands at 185, which is extremely unhealthy. That's all from me. Carry an umbrella and stay hydrated. Over to you, Srfti.
Thank you, Samiksha. I shall be sure to carry a sunscreen. It's now time to move on to a local story coming from the City of Joy. The General Post Office of Kolkata has opened a cafe in an attempt to stay relevant to the Gen Z. Here are some more details.
Today, we are standing at the General Post Office of Kolkata. The Parcel Cafe, an initiative by India Post, is a very first of a kind cafe opened by the India Post.
A person coming, he should not feel overburdened that today he has to visit a post office and he has to book a parcel, he has to go through, he has to stand in queues.
I think the cafe looks wonderful.
This is surely going for a long term, this cafe, if they try to maintain it.
You should not be surprised when I say that actually we are trying to talk to the young generation and the Bhadralok at the same time.
So it's a quite good initiative taken by the authorities to make it a cafe so that it can be availed by the local people.
And this is quite ambitious project for us. So first of all, our main aim is to establish it.
I think maybe the postal services could overlook it, but maybe the operations could be given to a private party Because I come into the cafe is beautiful, it looks nice, but I go there and there's only 2 things on the menu.
Immediately, we do not expect that it will increase the footfall, but it will help us in improving our the perception.
More and more people now should come back to the post office.
More initiatives like this will help India Post to remain relevant in today's time. This is me, Siddhant, signing off with cameraman Fayaz and Ronak on sound.
No doubt, India Post is resilient and keen on reinventing. Its success will only inspire other cities to follow suit. With that, it's time for a short break. Stay tuned, we'll see you on the other side of the break.
क्रिप्टो बोले पूरा सेट है बिटकॉइन लेने का तो कॉइन स्विच
छोड़ना भाई ये बिटकॉइन अपने को समझ में नहीं आता भाई
मैं पैदा हुआ झोपड़ी में घुसा नहीं कुछ खोपड़ी में सब कुछ कबाड़ है बहुत ही छाड़ है
बात बात पे काहे को इतना इमोशनल होता है इधर आ बहुत हार्ड कुछ नहीं है सब सिंपल है ये देख कोई लोड नहीं कोई झंझट नहीं तो लग जा रही कॉइन स्विच पे
समझना बच्ची
कुछ तो बदलेगा
Cryptocurrency is an unregulated digital asset, not a legal tender, and subject to market risks. All investments are subject to market fluctuation risk.
Welcome back. You're watching News at 4 only on EDM Bulletin. Before moving on to a special panel discussion, we have news coming in from Sri Nagar, Rajasthan, where we're seeing some agitation over the fuel hike. What's the situation like over there, Yashasvi?
Hi, Srfti. We are now in Sri Nagar, a district that has been hit by the fuel hike the most, and it borders Punjab and Pakistan. I'm joined by a localite and we are standing away from the agitation. Hello sir.
हेलो मैम
क्या आप अपना नाम बता सकते हैं और आप क्या करते हैं?
जी मैडम मेरा नाम रमनदीप सिंह है मैं खेत में किसानी करता हूँ और धान बोता हूँ
पेट्रोल और डीजल के बढ़ते दामों की वजह से आप पे क्या प्रभाव पड़ा है?
जी मैडम मैं तो किसान हूँ किसानी के लिए चाहिए होता है ट्रैक्टर और ट्रैक्टर में चाहिए होता है डीजल ये डीजल कर दिया 105 रुपये और पेट्रोल कर दिया 120 रुपये अब गाय भैंस वाला तो ज़माना रहा नहीं मैडम अब किसानी करने के लिए चाहिए मशीन तो मशीनों का दाम बढ़ गया है उसमें डीजल पेट्रोल हम जैसा गरीब आदमी कहाँ जाए मैडम आप ही बताओ
आपको क्या लगता है सरकार को इसके लिए क्या करना चाहिए?
जी मैडम कुछ सब्सिडी देते डीजल में हम जैसे गरीबों को तो क्या है कि पेट्रोल और डीजल में सब्सिडी मिलेगी तो मशीनें सस्ती चलेंगी
Thank you, sir. You heard the plight of the farmer and how the community has been hit by the fuel strike. Reporting now live from Sri Nagar with cameraman Amit, Yashasvi Srivastava, EDM Bulletin. Over to you, Srfti.
It's been over a fortnight since fuel prices have been hiked and there has been no respite. Moving on to some positive news, we bring you a celebratory panel discussion acknowledging the 50 years of UNEP efforts to save the environment. For half a century, the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, has coordinated a worldwide effort to confront the planet's biggest environmental challenges. Today, we kick off a series to mark the 50 years of efforts. In today's discussion, we talk about how individual and community-based action can make a better planet. We are joined by Prasanta Malik, a sustainable tourism activist, and Tamali Chatterjee, who follows sustainable practices at her household. Thank you for joining us, ma'am and sir.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I'd like to start with you. Can you tell us about some practices that you have taken as an individual to make your household better?
We try to minimize plastic usage. We try to use the plastic containers as planters, and the waste products from the kitchen, the organic waste, we make fertilizers out of it, and the waste water from the kitchen that we also call grey water, we use it for various purposes like watering the plants.
What about at the source level? At the source level, what do you do to try and reduce the amount of plastic that comes in?
So we try to we try to carry the cloth bags with us when we are going to the market, and we also try to use alternatives to the plastics like paper, cloths, etc.
Right. So you have been in the field of sustainable tourism for around 2 decades now. What can you tell us about sustainable tourism and its importance, especially now that post-pandemic and in the summers everybody is taking a vacation?
Yes, in that way, sustainable tourism, we define tourism as overall total tourism, means to make the community sustainable in every aspect. For example, education, health, environment, craft, art, sports, culture, history, heritage, in every aspect, and overall you can say it's highly depends on environmental cause, because while you are traveling to any popular or popular destination, and there we are actually used to see the maximum footfall to success the tourism economically. But what do you think about the economically as well as ecologically? So ecological balance decreases. So in that way, sustainable tourism is as well as very responsible tourism also.
Right.
Responsible in the sense environmentally responsible. Right now, Madam already told us to be responsible about not to use plastics, not to use fertilizer as well. So we used to train and make awareness program to community not to depends on tourist based tourism but product based tourism as well as to balance the ecologically system.
Right. And what can you tell us a little bit more about the difference between normal tourism and sustainable tourism, or the conventional tourism?
Conventional tourism means what we are used to see, that in the sense Shimla, Darjeeling and other popular destination, coastal area or Himalayan or forest area. But responsible or sustainable tourism is different because it's travel with cause. That means you are traveling, but as well as you are volunteering and responsible to the community as well as to the environment as well as to the society.
Right.
Responsible tourism and sustainable tourism means that you are very much aware, responsible about to stop and to negative impact of tourism. Suppose you are going to any destination and you are not aware that you are going to the village, but you are from the urban community, urban culture, and you don't care about your dress or your nuisance or your etc activities. But you have to think about their community children, students. You don't know how you are spoiling the community culture.
Right.
So your do and don'ts must be there about tourism and restriction about the footfall.
Right.
That's all.
So the theme for 2022 is One Planet or One Earth, right? So I would like to ask you in closing, what is the one thing that makes you hopeful about the future, or are there any practices that you kind of abide by that makes you hopeful about the future, ma'am?
So I think the individual actions count. Saving energy as much as possible, using alternatives to plastics, and supporting environment friendly government initiatives. And the most important thing is buying less. We should always buy what is absolutely our need.
Right. Sir?
Totally community ecological and economical issue through water management, waste management and conservation.
Right. So guys, you heard it first over here. It's important to highlight both individual actions as well as community actions. With that, that's all the time we have today. It's clear that we need to take an action today. Remember that there is only one planet and it is our responsibility to take care of this planet. This is Srfti Parthasarathy, your host, signing off. We'll see you again, same place, same time tomorrow. Thank you so much.
We are facing an existential crisis.
Unlike anything the world has ever seen.
We need to take action.
Everyone has to stand up.
The warning is not a new one.
Our world faces a triple planetary crisis of climate change, natural loss and pollution.